The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we're back in the Stone Zone. Joining me shortly, Sam Antar, the fraud investigator par excellence. He's the guy who detected and reported a 22-year of serial mortgage fraud by New York Attorney General Letitia James. Those charges have been referred to the Justice Department for prosecution. He's gotten to the bottom of Zoran Mamdani's Grassroots campaign. And folks, it's just like when Kamala Harris, we were told that she was surging in contributions and votes. It was a Psyop, and this is a Psyop too. We'll be with Sam here shortly. In the meantime, the big, beautiful bill passed the U.S. Senate by a narrow 51-50 margin, with Vice President J.D. Vance ultimately casting the tie-breaking vote. Since its passage in the House, there's been much discussion about its contents, with certain provisions being altered and removed. We spoke about this yesterday. One major victory for the American people and the grassroots against Big Brother is the removal of the big, beautiful bill's controversial AI provisions. That's artificial intelligence. The original version of the bill contained language that essentially issued a 10-year ban on any state government from enacting any regulation of the developments or use of artificial intelligence. That was not first approved by the federal government. This 10-year ban on AI regulations was seemingly slipped into the big, beautiful bill without many people realizing it. It was Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a good friend of mine, who sounded the alarm because saying she voted in favor of the first version of the bill without realizing this provision was in the legislation. As someone who has regularly been targeted by artificial intelligence, there are dozens of videos online of me allegedly saying things that I never actually said. It is seamless and therefore dangerous. This is a giant victory for the people. Senator Marsha Blackburn gave an impassioned speech on the Senate floor, arguing for her amendment to strip AI provisions from the big, beautiful bill. In her speech, she lit into her colleagues for doing so little to protect the American public from the excesses of artificial intelligence, while the states get into the action to help the vulnerable. Blackburn actually said the body has proven they cannot legislate on emerging technology. It's frustrating. We have not passed online privacy. We have not passed the No Fakes Act. There are all of these pieces of legislation dealing with AI that have not been passed or even considered. But you know who passed it? It's been done in our states. The states are the ones protecting our children, for example, in virtual space. Anyway, you're in the Stone Zone. I'm Roger Stone. And when we return, Sam Antar. Sam's an interesting guy who's was a certified public accountant. He also was a perp in one of the decade's largest security fraud schemes, for which he was justly convicted and sent to prison. When he got out, however, he redirected his expertise towards forensic accounting, leveraging his firsthand knowledge of fiscal and financial fraud to help combat white-collar crime. He's the one who caught Letitia James in her 22-year crime spree when it comes to mortgage fraud, and he has some shocking information regarding the astroturf nature of Democrat nominee Zoran Mamdani's miraculously win last week. We'll be right back.
The Stone Zone
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. We're in the Stone Zone, and joining me now is Sam Antar. Sam Antar is a forensic genius. He is a former certified public accountant who, as I said earlier, had his brush with the law and made an incredible comeback, helping government agencies, law enforcement organizations, law firms and accounting firms, independent investment research firms, hedge funds, and other public companies investigate white-collar fraud and crime. Sam Antar should not be confused with Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, one of my favorite rock groups. Sam is the editor and publisher of WhiteCollarFraud.com. It was Sam Antar who first uncovered the 22-year crime spree by New York Attorney General Letitia James, who is quite definitely engaged in serial mortgage fraud. Those claims got referred to the U.S. Justice Department for prosecution. That was the handiwork of one Sam Antar. The man is brilliant, and he has recently investigated the incredible rise of Zoran Mamdani. Now, Mamdani's built his entire political brand on being quote-unquote people-powered and claims the whole thing is grassroots fueled. Pardon me, but I've seen this movie before in the Kamala Harris campaign. That's when they juiced her poll numbers by using an inflated number of Democrats in the poll samples, and they used Act Blue to launder millions of dollars worth of small and medium-sized contributions into her campaign to try to create the impression that there was a surge in public support for her. Now Sam Antar has taken his skills to examine the Mamdani campaign. Sam, tell us what you found.
Okay, there are various parts of the campaign. The first part is he raised $1.7 million, supposedly organically. That's people that saw him on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, went to his website, filled out a form, and the money was accounted for. That's what supposedly was happening. But the reality is, out of that $1.7 million that he raised, entirely, all of it, every single penny of it, was raised from bundlers. People, professionals that bundle money for candidates, and then they turn it over to the candidates. So this was not a grassroots campaign. There was a 27,641 row spreadsheet that I went through. I ran it through AI, 3 AIs, okay? Every single contribution was handled through bundlers. In other words, despite having over 4.5 million social media followers spread across many platforms, nobody went to his campaign site, pressed the button, and organically donated money from him. It all came from bundlers. And that $1.7 million enabled him to get $7 million in matching funds. So now we're at $8.7 million. On top of that, 2 far-left super PACs spent $1.9 million promoting him and opposing Cuomo. So actually, the money that he got from super PACs was higher than the money that he got from the bundlers. This is not a grassroots campaign. This is like, if I may describe it, this is like a high-rated television show that has commercials, but nobody buys their products because all that social media infrastructure, all the media slobbering over him, right? Nobody goes to his website, pushes a button, and donates money to the website. It was all done by bundlers. This guy is a lab rat, okay? He was genetically engineered for media. He's a fraud, he's a fake, and he's a failure. It's not a grassroots campaign, period. End of story.
Sam, I'm a little confused. I saw him say that he was running against dark money, that he was opposing the special interests and the super PACs. Yet you're telling me that with millions of views on social media, Instagram, Facebook, across the board, X, I presume, not a single person clicked on the donate button and sent him $25. Not a single person.
Or $5, right? Or $2, or $8. It's all in the public record. All I did was I went to the New York City Campaign Finance Board website. I downloaded the website of all of his contributors, 27,000 whatever rows. You can imagine trying to go through it with your eyes. You start seeing triple. And anyways, I downloaded the whole thing, went through it. Out of the 27,641, 77 lines were not attributed to bundlers. Those 77 lines had a net zero, because there was refunds, etc., had net zero coming from ordinary folk.
This guy's platform is really quite extraordinary. He's declared that billionaires should not be allowed to exist. He's proposed substantial new taxes, including a 2% levy on millionaires. He's actually gone so far as to say that the wealthy and white people are not paying enough in taxes. That is both racist and unconstitutional. His supporters keep saying, no, that's not what he meant. No, he said it. It's exactly what he meant. He keeps talking about seizing the means of production. That is a Marxist sentiment without any ambiguity. He's talking about city-run grocery stores. He's advocating for opening municipal grocery stores in each borough that presumably would compete with private grocers, although private grocers like John Catsimatidis right here on this station have said that they will either sell or close down their grocery stores under these circumstances. He wants to freeze rents. That would be freezing rents on 1 million stabilized apartments. He also wants, which of course would make it inefficient, impossible for landlords to either maintain their properties or to build new properties. He wants a $30 minimum wage as part of his Zeronomics agenda, which would send the New York City housing market into chaos. He wants free buses and universal child care. He supports permanently providing free bus service and universal child care, but that's to be funded entirely by the redistribution of wealth that he talks about. Most dangerously, he wants to defund the police. He would abolish cash bail entirely, and he would stop prison expansion. He also talks about violence as some kind of abstract construct, implying that he would actually open Rikers Island and let everybody out. He wants to implement taxes, like I say, to punish white people, and in his words, shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. His words, not mine. As a co-founder of the Bedouin Students for Justice in Palestine and a longtime supporter of the anti-Semitic BDS movement, Mamdani has called Israel an apartheid state, has referred to its action in Gaza as genocide, and he supports the phrase globalize the intifada. He actually says that he would arrest the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visited New York City, as he's expected to do for an upcoming UN gathering. He also targeted nonprofit reform. He backs legislation empowering the state to penalize or dissolve any New York City nonprofit that supports Israel. On top of that, he has child welfare reforms limiting drug tests and reporting. He co-sponsored proposals making it harder to test newborns or pregnant women for drugs and to report suspected child abuse because of his twisted social justice philosophies. If this guy isn't a communist, well, then he's cheating the party out of his dues. What do you say, Sam?
Well, first of all, I say he's an anarchist first. He's a fascist, not just a communist. Communism is only a way for people to retain power. Does he believe in all this BS? I don't know. But all I can tell you is he's dangerous for America, he's dangerous for New York City, and he's dangerous for the Jewish population in this country. He has no business. You know what the problem is? The Democrats platformed him and gave him implied credibility by allowing him into the party, even though he's a member of the Working Families Party. So what's happened now over the years is that the Democratic Party, my party, I'm a Democrat, okay, my party has now been infiltrated by these whack jobs, these far-left whack jobs, okay? They had no business being in the party in the first place. They've hijacked the Democratic Party, and I blame the leadership. I blame the Charles Schumers of the world, the Hakeem Jeffries. I blame them all.
I think you're absolutely right. People don't realize this, but Bernie Sanders, the socialist, was not a Democrat until the year that he decided to challenge Hillary Clinton. He and his wife skimmed millions of dollars from his two presidential campaigns in quote-unquote media placement fees, which is not illegal but never disclosed to his donors. Certainly sounds like free enterprise and capitalism to me. Comrade Bernie got quite rich doing it. He became a millionaire. Maybe that's why he now only criticizes billionaires. He rarely criticizes billionaires and millionaires. And he's still out there pushing the same old socialist baloney. He attacked the Republican Party last week saying we were a cult. Dude, they cheated you twice out of the Democrat Party nomination, and instead of bolting, you endorsed Hillary Clinton and then Joe Biden, and you signed up with the war machine. So don't lecture us about our party, my party. This guy is a blowhard, but he's very happy with the rise of Mamdani and, of course, the pole position of AOC. There is no such thing as a moderate Democrat. They look at Chuck Schumer, of whom I'm not particularly a fan, and they think he's a dangerous right-winger compared to them, when in fact, he's just a corporate Democrat. It is shocking that the party of Harry Truman, who essentially is the president who founded Israel, supported the founding of Israel, will not stand up against anti-Semitism. Mamdani will not denounce the Squad, that little coterie of virulent anti-Semite, anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah Democrats in the House, of which AOC is a prominent member. I think that the term moderate Democrat is an oxymoron at this point. They don't seem to exist. Meanwhile, as I said earlier, President Donald Trump's on an incredible roll in terms of fulfilling his agenda. Anyway, folks, you're in the Stone Zone. We're here with Sam Antar. When we come back, I want to ask Sam about some of his really groundbreaking reporting regarding New York Attorney General Letitia James, who says that no one is above the law except perhaps her. Sam Antar is the man who uncovered 22 years, I believe it is, of serial mortgage fraud, actually transgressions for which other people have actually gone to prison. And those charges have made their way to the Department of Justice when the head of the Federal Housing and Finance Administration reviewed them and sent them over to Attorney General Pam Bondi for prosecution. There's some who argue that even though she lied numerous times on sworn statements, that there is no crime. We're going to give Sam Antar a chance to refute that when we come back in the Stone Zone. In the meantime, please go over to Sam's website, whitecollarfraud.com, for some of the best investigative journalism out there today. You're in the Stone Zone. I'm here with Sam, not Sam the Sham, but Sam Antar, and we'll be right back.
The Stone Zone
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Stone Zone
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we're back in the Stone Zone. We're with criminal fraud investigator Sam Antar. Sam has analyzed the campaign fundraising of Zohran Mamdani's campaign. He calls it the Mamdani deception because of the $1.7 million that he raised that was then matched by New York taxpayers to give him a war chest of $7 million plus. Not a single dollar of that, according to Sam Antar, came from any small donor who utilized the donate button on the campaign website. In fact, most of that money came from wealthy bundlers. Sam, you had another statistic here.
Yes. 100% of the money that he raised was not organically. It was raised through bundles. But here's where it gets interesting. 94% of it came from a single bundler. And that bundler raised 1.6 approximately of the $1.7 million. Now, when you go through the campaign disclosures of all candidates, this one bundler raised 10 times more money than bundler number 2 on the list. For other candidates. In other words, second place was about 150 or 60,000. This guy was at $1.6 million. So you have a very centralized campaign You don't have a grassroots where people are going and saying, wow, he's a great candidate, blah, 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 and they're donating to him directly. All of the money has been through bundlers. Specifically, 94% of it has been through one single bundler. Okay? Now, other campaigns use bundlers, yes, but not to the extent that you'll see 30%, 20%, 5%, 2%. We get that. But this is 100% to bundlers, 94% one individual.
So basically, this guy, of course, is tried to position himself in a populist as a guy challenging a corrupted system. And in many ways, strangely enough, till you get into the specifics of his agenda, he sounds like Donald Trump. He's an outsider challenging a corrupted, crony-ridden system. It turns out that most of his campaign money actually came from New York taxpayers who had to subsidize his campaign through the campaign matching system. And frankly, I still believe that there is no way Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa will withdraw his candidacy and endorse another candidate. I think he's in it to win it. Eric Adams seems every bit as determined to run as an independent. It's unclear whether former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who still maintains a hold on a substantial block of voters, will stay in the race as an independent, although he did qualify to run as an independent. And therefore, there's a reasonable probability that if let's call it the pool of sane voters, non-communist, non-socialist voters, is split between three candidates of different ideologies, that this fraud could actually become mayor. It's a chilling prospect, but I think it is a very real and genuine possibility. I want to go back to Attorney General Letitia James. She has emerged as Mamdani's number one cheerleader. But Sam, you uncovered a 20-plus year serial mortgage fraud. And her response has been that although she wasn't truthful on sworn documents, that there's no crime here. You have a minute and 30 seconds to explain why that's wrong.
That's absolutely wrong. First of all, if you make a false statement on the mortgage, even if the bank doesn't rely upon it, even if the bank doesn't suffer damages, it's a federal crime under, I think it's statute 1014, 1041, whatever the hell it is. It doesn't matter. She committed a federal crime. Now, she bought the property in Brooklyn in 2001, and immediately, instead of listing it 5 families or more, because it was a 5-family unit house, okay? She listed 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 units. That saved her a lot of money on the mortgages, and also meant less down payments than normal people would have had, because 5 or more tenants is considered a commercial building, and this is based upon the C of O, which is a publicly filed document. And it says 5 units. She says it's 4. It's kind of like, okay, I'll buy an entire apartment building and take it from. You can't just do that, okay? You have to change the C of O. That's the governing document. That is the law of the land in New York City. She also has properties in Virginia. It's kind of like the same MO. False filings on mortgages, false declarations on mortgages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She's a serial fraudster. There's not a one-off where a person checked the wrong box or anything like that. No. This is a pattern of behavior. Every single mortgage.
All right. I'm afraid we have to leave it there. I want to thank our guest, Sam Antar, and thank all of you for joining us in the Stone Zone today. Until tomorrow, God bless you and Godspeed.
And God bless you too, Roger, and your audience.
Thanks for listening to the Stone Zone with Roger Stone. You can hear the Stone Zone with Roger Stone weeknights at 8 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts, including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. Children'sChampions.org. Children'sChampions.org. Children'sChampions.